All right, we have a big election coming up in case you haven't heard or live under a rock. I'm not here to make a political statement. My goal with this video is to provide you with the most information possible and how the stock market may react depending on who is either elected or re-elected the next president of the United States. I was recently thinking about the stock market and which stocks and sectors may perform well depending on who is elected the president for the next 4 years here in the United States. So I decided to spend the last week or so compiling as much data and research as I can to make this video for you. And I know you're not here for long intros, so please like this video, subscribe to the channel. Also, this goes without saying, this is not financial advice, and I am most definitely not making a statement as to which president I would prefer. Okay, Dad? So let's get into this video. President does not directly control the stock market. The president absolutely has influence over the stock market and fiscal policy to some extent, but Congress ultimately creates the federal budget, which is only one variable that affects the stock market. So the president and next president and current president does not have direct control over the stock market. They definitely have influence, but not direct control. Let's first look at how the stock market specifically reacts during election years. So if you look at this analysis by First Trust Bank regarding the S&P 500's performance during the year the elected president takes office, as you can see, when there is a Republican president elected, that year's return is averaging about 15.3%. versus when a Democrat is elected during that elected year, the return has been 7.6%. Now, again, this is just for the year that they take office. This does not cover the potential following 3 years of their term or the additional 7 if they're elected. It's just for that first elected year. The good news is that during election years, 83% of the time, the stock market has netted a positive return, with only 4 years actually being negative, with the most recent with former President Barack Obama back in 2008 when he was elected into office. Now, when a Democrat was already in the office and a new Democrat was elected, the market returned an average of 11%. And when a Democrat was in the office and a Republican was elected, the stock market has netted a 12.9% return. Now, again, this is only for the election year, not for the entire term. So now, based on this Motley Fool article regarding the S&P 500 performance, again, the compound annual growth rate average during each president's term for Democratic presidents was 9.8% versus a Republican president was averaging 6%. Now, that 9.8% that I had just mentioned for Democratic and 6% for Republican was a compounding over their term. So it could be a 4-year term or it could be an 8-year term. But if you look at the individual years, the average stock market return when a Democrat was in office was 11.4% versus when a Republican was in the office, it was 7%. So now that we have that baseline, let's look at some individual sectors that may perform well based on who we may see in the office next or continue to see in the office. Let's first take a look at if Biden were reelected. So 3 sectors that could benefit. Biden has emphasized and continues to emphasize as he's campaigning now, clean energy and reducing carbon emissions. His administration may support policies such as tax incentives, grants, and subsidies for renewable energy products. So companies that produce solar, like First Solar, which manufacture solar panels, and Next Era Energy, a leader in renewable energy generation, could see increased demand, therefore the potential for the stock to see an upside. Sector number 2 would be healthcare stocks. Biden supports expanding the Affordable Care Act and lowering prescription drug prices. Healthcare providers like United Health Group and pharmacy providers like CVS Health could see increased demand as healthcare access becomes more affordable and potentially more accessible under a Biden plan. And then lastly, consumer staples. So policies promoting wage growth, raising the minimum wage, and consumer protection could benefit consumer staples like P&G, which has a huge portfolio of household products that you have in your house, I guarantee it. or companies like Walmart could see increased consumer spending and demand for essential products. So now that we covered 3 sectors under a Biden plan, let's look at 3 sectors that could perform well if Trump were reelected president. Number 1 is energy stocks like ExxonMobil and Chevron. Trump has favored deregulation in the energy sector, including rolling back environmental regulations and promoting energy independence. So that could lower operational costs for oil and gas companies, and it could help them to explore further products, further drilling, as well as increase production activities. So number 2, infrastructure stocks like Caterpillar and Fluor Corporation. Trump has proposed significant investments in infrastructure, including roads, bridges, airports, etc. Companies involved in construction, engineering, and produce materials for construction could benefit if Trump were in office, and he continues to propose investments into infrastructure throughout the United States. Last but not least, small cap stocks. This is kind of a broad spectrum, but you could look at different ETFs for small cap stocks if Trump were elected president. He's talked about tax cuts and regulatory reforms that would promote growth and would support small businesses. So small cap stocks, which are generally domestically focused and less impacted by global trade tensions, could see a positive return under a Trump presidency. It's also notable to mention that in a Trump presidency, we could see things like cryptocurrency continue to perform well. His newly elected VP JD Vance has publicly stated that he owns crypto and is for crypto. Under Trump, I do believe that crypto could perform a little bit better. So for me, I just want to recap this video that my favorite quote regarding investing is time in the market, not timing the market. I believe that patient investors will come out on top regardless of who is in the office. So if you are currently investing, just continue to stay on course, stay on track. So that's all I have for today's video. As always, if you enjoyed it, like this video, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you in the next one.